Hey, movie fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Untreaded Media Podcast. This is episode 133. So, in the words of the immortal Dark Knight, you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. You either die a franchise going out on top or you live long enough to see yourself get rebooted. Well, not always. Sometimes there's franchises that no matter how many movies they come out with, they still manage to keep the bar very, very high in terms of entertainment value. And some of these franchises are still going on today. So we thought, let's take a look at some franchises with no bad movies whatsoever, at least in our very subjective opinion. But also we took into consideration the general critic consensus of how these movies are perceived. So actually, I have one that might be a little divisive in terms of the critical reception, but I still maintain the entire trilogy is fantastic. But before we get into all that, Josh, how are you doing tonight?
Hey, buddy. Just chilling, man. You know, it's been a week so far. It's one of those like, hey, it's been a week so far, but it's only been 2 days. So there's that. Uh-oh. I'm in danger.
Yeah, I know the feeling. So also before we get into everything, we'll get to it when we get to our discussion, but I feel like it'll be interesting of how we're kind of differentiating what should be on this list or not. So when we get to the discussion, I'll kind of confer with my co-host here of, do we think this should be on the list or do we not? Because there's a little bit of gray area in the words of Tony Stark. There's a little bit of gray area, and that's where you live. But neither Josh or I have been watching anything interesting, so let's just get straight into the news because there's a lot of news to go over this week. So, as we talked about last week on the podcast, A Quiet Place 2 is doing phenomenally well at the box office, and rightly so. It's a worthy follow-up to the original. Well, now it seems like we're getting another one, which should come as no surprise. However, it is a little surprising what the nature of the movie might be. So it's a little complicated because I wanted to make sure we got this right when we were presenting this news topic, obviously. And I feel like even then, I'm getting different things from different news outlets. Of some cases are saying A Quiet Place 3 is coming March 2023, whereas some other places are saying A Quiet Place spinoff coming March 2023. And in the words of John Krasinski, it kind of sounds like it's a third one that's going to act as a spinoff because he will not be the one directing it. He directed the first two, but he's going to be passing the baton over to a guy named Mike Nichols. Yes, Mike Nichols, who did the Matthew McConaughey movie Mud. So I'm going, okay, you're handing it off to a very competent, dramatic filmmaker. Krasinski, to me, is still, him and Emily Blunt working together are still the bread and butter of this series. So I don't know how I feel about this. If you had to put money down on it, Josh, would you think A Quiet Place 3 would be a sequel or a spin-off?
At this point, I think we're going probably spinoff. I haven't seen Quiet Place 2 yet, so I can't be
even without having seen the third one, that's kind of why I'm curious to hear your perspective on this.
I would say it's a spinoff. It's from all intents and purposes, from everything that I've heard, 2 acts as while there are like story points that it could continue with, it's still kind of. I think you and I always kind of are always like, okay, well then what story do you tell after this? You know what I mean? So to me, unless it's you're going to pull something out of your butt and kind of make 3 a continuation, then I feel like a spinoff might be your best option.
Yeah, I don't know. Here's the thing is 2 does set up some really interesting storytelling possibilities. Without saying too much, we meet like groups of people that are still human, but their humanity is gone, so to speak. Like they've gone straight survival mode. So I'd be curious to have more run-ins with those people. Again, without dipping too much into spoiler territory, there are safe spaces in the world, believe it or not. So maybe we have like a Zombieland type quest to get to that sacred safe space, or Maybe we go full on action with this of, okay, due to the events of the first movie, we now know how to fight back. Maybe we go on the offensive this time around. I think there's a lot of interesting story possibilities that Krasinski opened up in the first two movies. I am really nervous about him not being the one to direct this, just because, like, what's written on the page is up to the director to how they interpret it each time. And Krasinski was a master of building tension in the first two movies. Like, I thought there'd be a drop-off in quality in the second one in terms of the tension, but I was still white-knuckling it on the edge of my seat, even for the second one. So I'm going, how do you continue that? That's kind of the basis for our discussion tonight with, like, how do you keep building on success? Like, how do you keep making it fresh and new? And I don't know how you keep doing that with A Quiet Place. But then again, we've doubted before. It just seems like a really difficult task, especially with a different person in charge now.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, they could go the Fear the Walking Dead route and do basically the same story, but with different characters, but in a different part of the world. I mean, so it's possible. I mean, A Quiet Place, technically speaking, can be told with other characters on a different part of the world. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to do a sequel at this point to me.
Just out of curiosity, if they were decided to go this route, would it at all interest you? There was a quick flashback scene at the beginning of Quiet Place 2 to kind of when the world went wrong, what happened there. If this was a prequel, not connected to the Abbott family at all, about like the rise of these creatures, would you be interested in that?
I kind of would, yeah. I mean, at this particular point, there's very, very interesting, for the most part, kind of basic space creatures, if they're from space. So I don't know. It could be interesting. At this point, like my one thing is, as with all franchises, I hope that they don't milk it until they kind of bastardize some of the greatness of the first two.
So normally, we don't like to talk about set photos on the podcast here, just because we like to talk about things that have been officially stated, and more often than not, like, set photos have not been sanctioned. It's more or less the equivalent of movie paparazzis. However, after some leaks came out, the director of Shazam: Fury of the Gods, David F. Sandberg, who's a phenomenal human being, more or less, kind of did a fun little tease for the new Shazam suit, except none of the lights were turned on, being totally self-aware. It was really, really funny. So I feel a little bit much more okay talking about it now, of just like David F. Sandberg has more or less said, yeah, we knew people were going to see the suit when we were doing some outside filming. So that being said, let's talk about the new Shazam suit that we've got for Shazam 2, because, bro,
dude,
it
looks so good.
All of a sudden, these people are just coming out of the woodwork, bashing the original Shazam suit. Like, maybe it's just me being in the right film bubbles, but I didn't hear a single complaint about the original Shazam suit until this one shows up. They're just like, oh, about time they replaced that crappy suit. I'm like, what was wrong with the original suit? I thought it looked fine. Yes, it had a little bit of padding, but that's because Zachary Levi, while big, isn't like Shazam big. He's not God build like Henry Cavill is. Zachary Levi clearly bulked up. I think he heard that the Rock suit wasn't going to be padded, so he's just like, okay, yeah, I need to not mess around anymore. I need my own suit that's not padded. And this thing looks awesome. I think it's going to be interesting because in some other set photos, he has a cape, and here he doesn't. So I think at times there's going to be a CG cape and other times a practical cape, which is a really smart choice. And like I said, I liked the original Shazam suit. I thought it looked cool. That being said, this is for sure an upgrade. This looks awesome. Josh, you see these set photos of what Shazam's looking like. Thoughts?
Yeah, let's go, bro. If we got he looks like he's okay. I want to be careful how I phrase this because I don't know what direction we're going story-wise, but like, it looks like somebody's going to deal out the fury of the gods. Like, look at that big boy. God, it just looks good, you know? Like, he looks like a superhero. And again, nothing against the suit from the first one. It's a great suit, especially for an origin movie. But this is one of those like, okay, we're stepping it up. We're in the big leagues now. We're swinging for the fences. Here we go. Like, it's a it's a really good suit, dude. Like, oh, dude.
Like aesthetically, it reminds me a lot of the Man of Steel suit. I've got much more of that like texture to it. Also, kind of reminds me of a less armored version of the Aquaman suit in terms of the detailing and even some of the gauntlet looks. Actually, the gauntlets look a lot like the Shang-Chi gauntlets that we saw in the trailer. I'm super, super excited. Actually, it's weird. To me, the biggest improvement over the original Shazam suit is nothing to do with the costume. It's going to sound weird, but it's in Zachary Levi's hair. In the original, it looked a lot like Zachary Levi had this like jet black wig on the entire time. It didn't look like natural hair. This looks much more natural, like less like it was a mold of something that had to fit his head. This looks much more natural. It's such a weird detail, but to me, the hair in the first one looked almost artificial. Maybe that was the point, but it just kind of looked bizarre, whereas this feels much more like natural hair. David F. Sandberg also came out and did like a quick like Q&A on his Instagram, because I will follow all of the small details about this movie. He said there will be no Black Adam in this movie. Sure. Does that include...
Sure, buddy.
Sure.
Yeah,
Does that include post-credit scenes? Who do you think has a higher probability of showing up in this movie? In either the regular movie or the end credits? The Rock or Henry Cavill?
I'm going Rock. Unfortunately, I kind of have to. Just because, like, because of Henry Cavill is so up in the air right now, it's hard to have anything to support that, unfortunately. It's just more likely that Black Adam's going to show up.
I am going to go on the other side. I think it's Superman, because I really think they are saving Black Adam for the next one, and I think they're saving Black Adam for a third one. So maybe, just maybe, they might put it as an end credits. But for now, I think they teed up enough of Superman in the first one to go, okay, we need to bring him in. At least if it's maybe like a scene or two. I feel like they set up more Superman than they did in Black Adam. Like, we know Black Adam will eventually fight Shazam. But maybe it's just me. But I get the sense that The Rock is hyping up more of a fight against Superman than he is against Shazam. So maybe that's the direction they're going instead. Like, yeah, I'll fight Shazam at some point, but my real threat is Superman. Like, The Rock seems to have his eyes locked somewhere else.
Yeah. And see, like, part of me feels like that's a slight against Shazam, and I don't... Like, that's...
What? DC having a slight myth against Shazam? Never heard of that. It's not like they bought Fawcett Comics to destroy the character or anything.
It's tough, dude. Because Black Adam's is Shazam's villain. Like, why? I don't understand I mean, I get why The Rock would be like, I want to fight Superman, because, like, that's your big bad, but, like, that's not your hero that you're supposed to fight, dude. Like, how weird would it be to see Black Adam fight Superman before he fights Shazam? To me, that's just so weird.
I think maybe it's either they want to save Shazam and Black Adam as like a big like end of the 3-part for both of these. Like the end of the Shazam trilogy and the end of the Black Adam trilogy will be them squaring off against each other. My only hope is they don't end up working together. That would be the worst case scenario for me, because they're such adversarial characters. Like, they should not be teaming up. Josh has a thought. Say it before it dies of loneliness.
Okay, so my thought here is, what if, and this is a fact you and I have always stated, that Shazam is as, if not more powerful than Superman, right? Because he doesn't have any weaknesses necessarily, right?
Well, except for, being a child.
Being a child. But what if they use Black Adam to show Superman's weakness to magic, and then have Shazam not handily beat, but like go toe to toe actually with Black Adam because there's no.
Oh, I thought you were saying toe to toe with Superman. I'm like, DC will never let
Nah,
Superman get
no,
beat by Shazam.
no. But they can indirectly say, hey, he's just as strong by having Black Adam against Man of Steel and then Shazam against Black Adam. I don't know. That's a reach for me. I still feel like Black Adam needs to fight Shazam first, but whatever.
So, The Flash has been filming for a bit now, and we've been getting some cryptic tweets from director Andy Muschietti. No, like, costume reveals or anything, but we've gotten our most cryptic and ominous tease yet, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm all for it. So basically what we got here is what appears to be confirmation of Michael Keaton's Batman, and he might not be in the best shape here. Again, what are we gonna do? Because we're comic book fans, we're gonna take a single Instagram picture that might just be someone from catering spilling some raspberry jelly on the bat suit and snap this picture before they got fired, and we're going to overanalyze the crap out of that because we have no lives.
Yep.
So, do you think this is confirmation that this is Michael Keaton's Batman will be in this movie? It's been like the worst kept secret. They haven't officially said it, but I think they've officially said it at this point. It's also interesting to know if you really, really analyze this picture, this is a different bat suit than either of the Keaton movies. Look at the cowl slightly above the logo. That's different neck piece. So whether he's got a new suit, there's a couple different routes here. One of them, because I think Josh, of course, is already probably thinking of this, there might be a Batman Beyond tease here. At least that's how I'm reading it. But before I get into that theory, or one that I've had for a little bit here, Josh, do you think there's a Batman Beyond tease here, like I do?
There's the potential. I mean, I think we're gonna get Old Man Bruce no matter what here. But potential for Batman Beyond, also potential for a Bruce Wayne that is should have left the game a long time ago. My daring claim at this particular moment will be, what if it's Old Man Bruce? Oh no, I had it and then I lost it. Oh no. Old Man Bruce, but like, there it is. But in the vein of a Thomas Wayne. So if you're gonna use the Snyder cut, Snyder movies, be like, what if Batman did end up killing Superman? And how would that make him regret? Would that cause him to go darker?
And it was Nicolas Cage's Superman.
The whole time. Oh! Don't tease me with that. Don't do that to me. Oh, he's much too old now. Unfortunately, he's much too old for that. Unfortunately,
not if he's dead.
That's fair. But yeah, no. There's potential here for to do like a Bruce Wayne that goes full Thomas. As far as using guns and being ultra violent and stuff like that. But we'll see what happens. And then maybe Barry gives him like, oh yes, hope.
This is the power of love. Yeah. Don't take money in it. Don't take fame. Don't need no credit cards to ride this train.
Yeah.
The Speed Force. So,
but I mean, there's a lot of potential. I don't know. Again, this is like you said. This is just an Instagram picture. We can overanalyze it all we want.
Again, it could just be someone from catering that spilled some raspberry jam on the bat suit that looks a little dusty. Okay, so I'm actually surprised you didn't pick up the baton I dropped. Because I think this could actually be a Batman Beyond tease. Again, this could be me reading way too much into it. When I saw this, my mind immediately went to you with Batman Beyond. So this suit has dust on it, hasn't been used in a very long time, and that's blood. What if this is the Michael Keaton bat suit that hasn't been used in a very long time because the last time it was used, Batman crossed a line that he said he would never go down again, and that's the blood of someone that he killed using a gun in self-defense to protect himself. And that's how we get the Batman Beyond. Because there's been rumors for a little bit that not WWE, that's a very different company. WWE is making a Batman Beyond movie. I would pay to see good money for that. The WB
starring Ricochet.
Yes, the WB is curious about doing a Batman Beyond movie with Michael Keaton's Batman. I think that's just a tinfoil hat. I didn't put that on. A tinfoil hat theory of maybe the blood is there more as a reminder of do not do the thing that. Don't cross that line again. You can't do it anymore. This is what you did last time you thought you could. However, that's not where I think this might be going.
Okay.
Cast your mind back to a while back when I said that I think the Flash movie will not be taking inspiration so much from Flashpoint, but from its sequel comic, The Button, which is a story about Batman and the Flash more or less going back to that Flashpoint timeline, and Batman gets to meet his father Thomas, because they're just like, someone's messed up the timeline and we have to undo it. So they more or less have to undo the events of Flashpoint. And in doing that, Thomas Wayne ceases to exist. He's got this cool moment of, what do Waynes do? We rise, and he runs off into the void, nothingness. And I think that might be how we write off the Snyderverse. Barry undoes it. Not undoes it, but like now due to his interfering with the timeline, that timeline ceases to exist, kind of like the evil Biff in Back to the Future 2 timeline. That story opens with a certain speedster attacking Batman in the Batcave and more or less beating him senseless. What if he attacks Michael Keaton's Batman and it's Reverse Flash? We've heard nothing about a Reverse Flash in this movie. But that's the first thing that came to my mind was Batman getting the crap beat out of him by Reverse Flash. It's not unheard of. It's probably still a reach because we've heard nothing about Reverse Flash whatsoever, which kind of more supports my theory that there is no actual villain here. It's Barry messing up the timeline is the true villain here. But just something to consider. We're still a long way off. Last thing before we move on. Josh, at what point do you think we're going to get, like, actual pictures from this movie and not just cheeky Instagram teases?
A week before the trailer.
Which would be...
I have no idea. But I think they're trying to keep it as close to the chest as possible, so... which I can't really blame them for, because you don't want any of this movie to be leaked. It's just, there's just too much, not to say there's too much at stake, but it just, this movie has the potential to be ragged on by fans the most, I think.
It's the riskiest, because it's been in development the longest, it's trying to do the most. I think we might get like an official picture of the Flash maybe in the next month or two. Just be like, sorry, here's what he actually will look like in this movie. This is what the suit looks like. If not, then I don't want to say we'll have to wait until October because that would suck. But DC fandom in October 18th, is shaping up to be a monster day for DC because The Batman has already finished filming. And guys, don't believe any of the stupid reports that are coming out about stuff that's happening on the Batman set, like Matt Reeves doing weird stuff or Robert Pattinson doing weird stuff. That's just beyond stupid.
I mean, depending on the stuff you've heard about Robbie Pat, I wouldn't put it past it.
No, like, this is, like, beyond stupid of, like, Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson are fighting. WB hated the Batman and wanted reshoots. I'm going, really? Is that why they keep giving Matt Reeves more and more responsibilities?
Yeah.
But I think fandom is shaping up to be huge between The Batman, Black Adam, Shazam will probably be finished filming by October. This will be done filming by October. Fandom was a big deal last year, but now that we have things actively underway, it's going to be a big event, and I'm all for it. So I think that's probably when we're going to get a massive amount of news dumps.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I wouldn't put it past them to wait until fandom. In some ways, wait to make sure they don't need any reshoots.
I mean, every movie needs reshoots, but...
I mean, yeah, but just so they can be done. I don't know. I'm being hopeful here, I guess.
So let's get to some weird, shall we? We talked about, I feel like, what was it, a week or two ago, that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson will be voicing Crypto the Superdog in a animated Superpets movie now titled League of Superpets. Okay, I can give or take the name. And The Rock shared on his social media the remaining voice cast. And I'll be honest, 90% of it I'm okay with. But that one name. So we get names like John Krasinski. Woohoo! Kate McKinnon. Really enjoy Kate McKinnon. She's one of my favorite SNL cast members of the past few years, besides Kenan Thompson. The glorious internet king himself, Keanu Reeves, is in this as well. And I'm super excited. My Keanu voice just turned into Nicolas Cage voice there a little bit.
Yeah, that was really weird.
It's kind of weird. I'm like, oh, these are great casts. Diego Luna from Rogue One. Fantastic. And then Kevin Hart as Ace the Bat Hound. Stupid! Josh?
I think I said this to you when I saw it. It makes it feel like it's just another buddy project for The Rock and Hart. I don't want to I'm not gonna get all mad about it because I don't think this movie's not my it's not targeting me. I'm not the demographic, so it is what it is. But
so
I don't know.
Here's my issue with this, big time. I actually don't mind that Kevin Hart is in this because apparently Kevin Hart's not allowed to make movies anymore without The Rock, which kind of gets annoying. I don't mind Kevin Hart being cast in this. He's a pretty prolific voice actor, whatever. He's even going to be in Borderlands, if I remember correctly. It's that he's Ace the Bat Hound. That does not fit him. You've got both John Krasinski and Keanu Reeves in this, which fit that role so much better. Now, I highly doubt he's in this at all, but the thought just now came into my head, and that's why Josh saw me freaking out off camera here. You know who Kevin Hart actually would be perfect for, and would be a pretty decent villain for this admittedly probably going to be wacky movie with a Superpets premise? The Superman villain, Mr. Mxyzptlk, who is a trickster, basically, kind of like a cartoon wizard who's all powerful, basically, but he doesn't really take himself too seriously. He's a really wacky, bizarre character that the only way to defeat him is to get him to say his name backwards. And he's a obscure, bizarre. He's from the era of comics where Crypto the Superdog would be around, of the wacky Superman teams up with Batman and Robin to ride on surfboards type of 60s era.
Yeah.
That role, I think, would fit him a lot better than Ace the Bat Hound. Okay. Kevin Hart stupidity aside, are you a fan of the rest of this cast?
Yeah. I'm kind of waiting to hear what everybody else is playing.
Yeah, that was kind of weird. With this announcement, they only said...
Holding out for that Wonder Twins monkey.
So that's the weird thing is when they announced this, they only said who Kevin Hart and The Rock are playing. Everyone else was just like, look who else is in this. I'm like, what's Keanu voicing? I need to know that. Is it Dr. Fate's dog? I think that could be funny. What's John Krasinski playing? What's Kate McKinnon playing? Also, my knowledge of Superpets is incredibly limited. I know Ace the Bat Hound and Crypto the Superdog. Dude, if Keanu Reeves is playing Bat Cow, I can die happy. Which means we might get Damian Wayne.
See, and here's the thing, just spitballing here. Imagine the villain is Batmite, and voiced by Kevin Hart. That would be cool.
Or John Mulaney.
That. Oh, don't tempt me with John Mulaney. Oh.
Or, see, our knowledge of this might be limited, so you diehard Young Justice fans might be able to shoot us down. But could Teakle do it without Clary and the Boy Wizard? Teakle the cat? could he be the villain, or does he need Clarion the boy wizard to be with him? Like, what about Atrocitus's cat?
A part of me just needs the boy Clarion and Teagle to be there, and like just the fact, like seeing Clarion get upset at animals would just, I don't know, something about that's hilarious. But you know, we'll see. I don't think we are going to be the target demographic for this film. It's going to be super wacky. I am going to go into this with no expectations. Like I did Teen Titans Go to the Movies, and hoping for the best.
We're not going to badmouth Teen Titans Go to the Movies,
that was not a badmouth, man.
No, because Teen Titans Go to the Movies. Guys, I didn't watch Teen Titans Go, but even if you haven't seen that, see Teen Titans Go to the Movies, because that is genuinely one of my favorite comedies of the past few years. It's so cleverly written. Yeah, this whole movie just sounds weird. It screams one for you and one for me type with The Rock of like, we'll let you do a Black Adam, maybe even bring Henry Cavill back for your Black Adam sequel if you're nice, but you got to do this Superpets movie for us. Also, maybe it's just me reading way too much into this. It's super odd to me that when The Rock shared this on his social media, he finished it off with, "The hierarchy of the DC universe is about to change," which is the slogan that he's been attaching to Black Adam. So I'm going, does that no longer refer to Black Adam, and it's just you taking more creative control over DC? Is that what you mean, or it's just kind of bizarre? Like, I don't mind the character of Crypto. I like it. I actually am kind of morbidly curious about this movie, but my expectations are not overly high. Now this, my expectations are through the roof. So I love both Creed movies. I love almost all the Rocky movies, as Rocky 4 is getting a director's cut later this year, which is super weird. But Michael B. Jordan is tasked with directing the next Creed movie. It'll be his directorial debut, and I'm super, super amped. I'm already trusting his vision because my boy knows how to cast a movie, as he has found his main adversary / antagonist for the next Creed movie, Lovecraft Country's Jonathan Majors. Oh my God. When I saw this casting announcement, my mouth just watered on the spot going, this is a pay-per-view matchup right here in terms of both acting ability, in terms of what we could probably see in the ring. Because, Josh, you're the more of the Lovecraft Country guy than I am, because you've seen the entire show, so you're probably more familiar with this actor brings to the table. Physicality-wise, Michael B. Jordan, you better watch out, because this guy's like, even in Lovecraft Country, you could tell he's strong, but not like boxing shape strong. Add him in boxing match shape. Oh, I'm scared if I'm Michael B. Jordan, which makes me so excited for this.
I'm really curious. Yeah, so small caveat: I haven't finished Lovecraft Country, and that's just because at 3 or 4 episodes in, it got really, really, really weird. And
what?
It's saying something even for me.
A Cthulhu story got weird?
Cthulhu's not involved. It really made me upset. No, anyway. Yeah. No, but like seriously,
are you sure he's not?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Kind of, somewhat. I need to finish it. Dang it! He's in the opening like scene or whatever, and it ends up being a dream. So I don't know. Anyway, that aside, Jonathan Majors is an incredible actor. Like you said in the show, he's in incredible shape. Like one of those kind of like, I don't know why you're in that good of shape, but I trust you because you seem like a good guy. But you also kind of scare me. Because, like, there are several things that happen in Lovecraft Country where he has to show his physicality. And okay, so Michael B. Jordan is in...
He gonna get wrecked.
Yes, I am very curious as to what story we're going to be telling. I would almost... All right, so let's spitball here. What story... You got a face on. I think you're picking up the baton I'm handing you. What you got?
All I have to say is I don't know if this will work canonically in Rocky lore, but what if this is Apollo Creed's birth son? Like, with his actual wife that we saw in all the previous Creed movies. So it's, you're the bastard son, I'm the real son. That may be a little too Game of Thronesy.
But no, that's exactly where I was going. Like, where he's like, so he's like, you're the mistake, and yet somehow you still got more love than I did.
You got the chance, you got the opportunity. And so he comes in. So he comes in like with a chip on his shoulder, just like, you can't have nice things when you come from wealth, type of thing. So he's got this like chip on his shoulder because he's got the silver spoon from birth, type of thing. The worst thing they can do, and I hope Michael B. Jordan does go down this route. Please do not make him the son of Clubber Lang. I know people are just like, he could be Mr. T's son. First of all, no. Second of all, no. Third of all, it wouldn't make sense. Rocky and Clubber had beef. Clubber and Apollo never squared off. At that point, Apollo was already retired. He retired after Rocky 2. They had like a quick scene when Apollo got in the ring when Clubber beat Rocky. He's just like, you're lucky you're not in this ring with me. And then Apollo's just like, keep talking, bum, or whatever. Like, that was the extent of it because Apollo was already retired. Like, Apollo and Clubber have no beef, no history whatsoever. It's not like Drago where, you killed my dad. This would be very, very forced Rocky connection here. And also, I don't think Rocky will be in this movie at all. This will be the first, I think, solely like Creed standing on his own, and bringing that family aspect, I think, could be a lot of fun there.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I think if it's not family, the other kind of thought process I had is you could still maybe do family in it, but make Jonathan Majors characters like, if in the Creed universe, if Michael B. Jordan is Black Panther, Jonathan Majors is Killmonger. Like, have and play it off that way. Like, they both want the same thing, but they're going about it in completely different ways, which is just I don't know. It could be very interesting. I'm excited either way. Jonathan Majors deserves more like starring like big roles. He's a great actor.
I think Michael B. Jordan is also showing his prowess here because I think he's getting Jonathan Majors as an actor right as the iron's about to get hot. Like when this comes out, I think it's next year or the year after, he will be hot because he is going to be a major player in Marvel going forward. So I think Michael B. Jordan's like, I will snatch him up when I can. He's playing Kang the Conqueror in the next Ant-Man movie in Quantumania. Right. So I think he's trying to go like, okay, you are going to be very, very busy with that franchise going forward, I think. So I want to snatch you up because I see talent and future in you. Plus, I just really, really want to work with you as an actor. I think that could be a lot of fun. So this is like the first time in a Rocky movie in a long time that I'm just really excited for the matchup more than anything else. Like, I'm excited to see these two beat the ever-living crap out of each other in a boxing ring because Michael B. Jordan is a physical specimen when he's in the boxing ring. He looks so good in shape. Jonathan Majors is no slouch either, and he's not even like actively prepping for a boxing type character. So put him in that role, and it might be like a Jake Gyllenhaal and Southpaw transformation of just like go from bad to worse, terrifying wise.
What if we get a warrior moment at the end of Creed 3?
You are a beautiful man.
I want it, but I also was just like, oh, I don't know if I want it. Oh.
I know what I want.
Yes. Oh.
I know what I want, and it's
go, boy. Oh.
We also have a late addition to this news story too. So Josh and I both love John Wick. I'm sure you watching this love John Wick. I'm super, super amped for John Wick 4, especially after the major cliffhanger of John Wick 3. Now I'm even more amped because the cast keeps growing as John Wick will have an unlikely ally in Donnie frickin' Yen. Let's go, boy. As soon as I saw this, I was like, oh, Josh is just running excited laps around
Like,
wherever
let's
he is.
go.
He's just running in circles, just going, Donnie Yen, Donnie Yen. He's doing the rain dance with Donnie Yen, just Donnie Yen, Donnie Yen, Donnie Yen. Because, like, I have an unhealthy love of Joel Edgerton and Ewan McGregor. Josh has an unhealthy love of Donnie Yen. It's probably totally healthy because Donnie Yen is fantastic. I love the fact that when they said that he was added to the cast, they were very, very clear, at least from the press release, that he's an ally. Which I'm going, cool. It's about time we get someone in John Wick's corner as opposed to fighting him. That being said, I wouldn't be opposed to a misunderstanding type scene, and they go toe-to-toe for a solid 3 to 4 minutes while Wick explains the situation. I've got some more ideas as to what's happening with this. Oh, also, before I toss it over to Josh, another piece of casting news just dropped recently with John Wick Chapter 4, with Bill Skarsgard from It has also been added to the cast. I'm going, oh, God. This might be one of the best casted John Wick movies we've gotten so far. But getting back to Donnie Yen, you have the floor, Josh.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
I mean, here's the thing, man. After what was it, the third one? I think it's the third one that some of the guys that work with Tony Jaa were in it. Some of the raid guys were in John Wick. I think it's 2.
It's the third one. It's the third one with Zero in a clear room. Yeah, it's the third one.
So with them in it, I thought it was only a matter of time before Donnie Yen or Tony Jaa ended up in a John Wick franchise.
What about a Michael Jai White?
Don't tempt me with a good time. Or Scott Adkins. Oh, anyway.
Dude, okay. What if it's the High Council and some of their assassins versus Wick, Yen, Atkins, and Jaa? Just those guys, just 4 or 5 guys against a room Kill Bill style of the council, the High Council.
I can't. Better be the finale.
That's the finale of the entire series.
Like that, dude. Like that's not a middle of the show. That's not a middle of the movie fight. Like, because here's the thing. The thing that I try, and this is why I think I'm more excited about this than I was about hearing Tony and Donnie being in Triple X3. Being that I still enjoyed the crap out of their presence in Triple X3. But I don't think they were allowed to shine as bright as they could, and I think that's going to happen here. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't be able to shine. Like, I'm just imagining Tony being as small as he is in comparison to John, and like John Wick wouldn't write him off, but just like giving that air of like he's small, and we just saw literally last movie just saw John have his way with 2 other guys that size. There's he's got nothing, and like he actually gives John some issues. So I mean, I don't know. It could be really cool. But Tony's not in this movie. It's Donnie.
Yet.
Donnie's gonna be. It's good. Dude, Donnie's so cool. Like, I will forever preach the gospel of Donnie Yen. The guy not only is a great actor and a great film great fight choreographer, the guy can actually fight. Like, he got discovered because he was bar fighting and like just whipping people all the time, and like it happens in Hong Kong all the time now too. Like people will like stop him and try to fight him, and he's like, guys, you don't want to do this, and we'll actually whip people. It's great. Anyway, I'm excited. Let's go. Why not?
So, what I need to happen is in the next John Wick, now that he's gotten the crap beat out of him and he's back with Morpheus. Spoiler alert for John Wick 3, obviously. Morpheus will look at him. I forget his name. I'm just going to keep calling him Morpheus. He just looks at John and goes, "You know the whole world and the High Council are against us. You got any friends left?" "I got a couple." And you get Donnie Yen, and like whenever the final John Wick fight is, it's just John Wick and the High Council. He's surrounded by the ninjas, and it goes, and it's just something cheesy. I don't care that this is fan servicey. He'd just be like, "Too bad you're all alone, Mr. Wick. You've killed anyone that stood by your side." "Not quite." You bring in Atkins, Yen, Chan, and everybody else. And
Jason Statham.
Avengers Assemble style. Close up of John Wick. Whoa. And then they just charge in a battle.
Oh yeah. No, like I think the thing that John Wick has done really well is actually put a lot of these guys that I love to watch that aren't usually on the main stage, actually put them on in a mainstream film that's very popular. And that to me that's a big thing.
True. Now, lastly for this week.
What in the world?
Yeah, so this is just bizarre. Buckle up, everybody, as everyone's favorite hillbilly weirdo, Rob Zombie, is tackling a Munsters reboot, which supposedly, I think this is going straight to Peacock, because I think it got acquired by, like, the Peacock division. It hasn't been clearly stated, but it sounds a lot like it's going to Peacock. Oh boy. Supposedly also Rob Zombie has wanted to do this for a very long time. Like, he's grown up being a Munsters fan. Oh boy. I 80 to 90% hate this with every fiber in my being. I know Josh is probably expecting me to just Russell Crowe Robin Hood rage on this. And I did when it was first announced. And most of the time, I still hate this. Because I think this is a mismatch made in heaven in the worst possible way. But there's a little thing that gives me a little bit of hope from an unlikely source. A movie called The House with a Clock in Its Walls. Why do I bring that up? Because that was directed by torture porn director Eli Roth. If Eli Roth can get out of his Hostel and Cabin Fever ways to deliver a family-friendly introduction to the world of horror and Halloween-themed movies, it's not totally unheard of for Rob Zombie to do the same. It depends on what Universal is asking of him. Did they sign off on this saying, yes, you have carte blanche on this, you can do whatever? Or is it a Rob Zombie's take on a family version of the Munsters that can be PG, but still kind of like a monster house of family version? Is Rob Zombie going to get out of his comfort zone here? Or is he going to live where he knows? I highly doubt he will. But if The House with a Clock in Its Walls had not come out, I'd be completely hating on this.
That's fair.
I think directors can leave their sphere of influence. Martin Scorsese did Hugo, and it's probably still my favorite movie he's ever done, even more so than The Departed or Shutter Island or whatever else. Like, he got out of his bubble. I think it comes down to, is Rob Zombie willing to get out of his personal bubble, or is this just going to be, I've had this Munsters fan fiction in the back for a while, and I finally get to do it?
Yeah, but see, like, as someone who has watched the Munsters as well since I was a kid, I think, like, the Munsters isn't one of those shows that you admit that you've watched your whole life, unless
you absolutely. No. I would definitely admit it.
Let me finish. Unless you have, like, an absolute love to the point of, I like this more than Addams Family kind of love. You know what I mean?
No, I will. Yes, I will stand on my soapbox and say I always watched the Munsters over the Addams Family.
That's what I'm saying.
I was more of a Munsters person than Addams Family. I watched them both because TV Land. What's up? TV Land was like my most watched channel as a kid. Andy Griffith, I Love Lucy, Green Acres. I love both, but I lean more towards the Munsters.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That's not, somebody doesn't admit in public that they're a Munsters fan unless they legitimately, absolutely have a huge love for the Munsters. And to me, maybe this is me looking for a silver lining, but for Rob Zombie to say that he's been a big fan since he was a kid, to me that means they're gonna at the very least do a PG-13. I wouldn't be surprised if it was more PG, but like I think the other question is this going to be animated or is this going to be live action? So I mean, who knows? There could be a lot of firsts for Rob.
I kind of hope it's not animated because we saw what happened with that Addams Family movie. I never saw that one, but it didn't feel right. It could have been the animation style, but overall, that and Addams Family just didn't do it for me. I do worry already just because I've seen enough Rob Zombie movies to go, okay, so what character is his wife going to be playing? Like,
yeah, unfortunately.
Like, is it just going to be the cat? Like, that's already, okay, I'm already kind of guessing, like, is she going to be the mom here? Is she going to be whoever else? It's also just like, he works with the same actors over and over again. Is Bill Moseley going to be Herman? Is he going to be the uncle? If he was still alive, rest in peace, Sid Haig. But if Sid Haig was still alive, he'd be playing the uncle. Scout Taylor Compton from the original Halloween might be playing the older sister. I don't like the sound of a lot of this. But
I think the good takeaway from this though is Rob is not afraid to cast who he thinks would be best. He's not afraid to do older actors. He's not afraid to do lesser known actors. So to me, I'm going to put that up in the pros category.
That's fair.
Yeah, because he's, if anything, he knows what he's looking for and will cast the people for those roles that he sees, and no production company is going to tell him any different.
Yeah, there's not a single Rob Zombie movie I like. I'll be perfectly honest. The closest that I will get is I can watch his first Halloween movie. It's not great, and I want to tear my ears off when I hear the "I'm not listening" when Michael is messing with the bird in the kitchen in the bathroom sink. It's just, but I don't like his movies. I don't like his style. So I'm putting this down as a negative. However, not 100% of a negative. If some directors have gone in completely new directions and reinvented themselves, I would be willing to give Rob Zombie a chance here, especially because it is something he cares so deeply about. If this was some other franchise, like if Universal came to him and said, hey, we think you'd be great for Munsters, then I'd be much more cautious. But the fact that he's been fighting and dogging this for over a year now to get this project means, okay, yeah, he probably cares deeply about this.
Yeah, no, I agree, and see, like that's the thing too. That I could name on maybe one or two fingers some Rob Zombie films I like. Everyone loves House of a Thousand Corpses, Devil's Rejects, and I don't know, man. I mean, I watch, what is it, 61, like 31, whatever, like once a year. Just because I do like it, it's cool, but it's not something I can watch all the time. And I think that's the thing about his films is it's not that they're not rewatchable, it's that
they're not pleasant.
It's an experience, and that's if anything you can credit Rob for that. Like his movies are an experience.
Yes. Well, before we get into our main discussion, as always, this episode is sponsored by the Uncharted Media Shop on TeePublic. So if you like Uncharted Media, whether you like watching us on the YouTube channel, listening to us in podcast form, and you want to rep the show somehow, go to the Uncharted Media merch section of TeePublic. The link is in the description. We've got shirts, hoodies, baseball tees, mugs, stickers, whatever you want to slap our logo on and support the show. And again, if these start doing well, we'll introduce other designs like the tinfoil hat, and maybe we need like a little jar, an Iron Giant jar, or a How to Train Your Dragon jar of just ongoing joke jar. Or this episode is sponsored by, we have no idea. Just make stuff up. But
Bang Energy.
yeah. But it's always impressive if a movie can have back-to-back good incarnations. But if you do it even more times than that, that's even more impressive. So what we're talking about today is movie franchises that have at least 3 good movies. Because there's a couple, like A Quiet Place, that there's 2 good movies, but then nothing from then. We want to at least have 3 movies here. That was our only characteristics. However, I also kind of want to nail some stuff down with Josh because there's a couple that teeter on my list, and it all depends on our definition here. Because I'm going to throw 2 names out here, Josh, and I want you to tell me if you would include them on this list or not because of the franchise tag specifically. Because I've heard arguments for and against these. Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings. What would you?
Yeah, absolutely. Because Lord of the Rings is Fellowship, Two Towers, Return of the King. The Hobbit movies is their own trilogy. Because they don't call it Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit. You know what I mean? So Lord of the Rings is, I mean, it's on it's on my list.
Okay, cool. I didn't know because I was thinking both Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter, but both of them have really crappy sequels that really, really bring down the rest of the franchise. But if we're addressing Fantastic Beasts and The Hobbit as their own separate franchises, cool. Then that makes me feel a lot better and I can sleep better at night now. So yes, I'll start us off with Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings. I think it's more impressive, and I'm sure there's going to be some people mad at me about this. I think it's more impressive that Harry Potter has good movies than it is Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings, don't get me wrong, was a massive undertaking, but that's a trilogy. Harry Potter has 8 good movies. At worst, they're fine with the 7th movie when they're just roaming around the woods, just being fine. But if fine is the worst movie in your franchise, you've done something right. The fact that they've done 8 movies, and some of them, Order of the Phoenix, are actually better than their books. Not all of them, just Order of the Phoenix. But the fact that you had 8 movies, and all of them were quality?
Yeah,
with
absolutely.
4 separate directors? That should not happen. You should at least have a quality drop-off somewhere, whether it was when you lost Christopher Columbus, or Alfonso Cuarón, or David Yates. No, it was 3 directors, just those 3. But somewhere along the lines, you're supposed to lose momentum, not gain momentum.
The super interesting thing about the Harry Potter series is that outside of all the director changes, outside of how many movies there are, they do a really, really good job of shifting the tone to something more darker and mature.
Gradually, too.
Yeah, exactly. The longer the series goes. Because obviously you can't have as the wonderful child magic, in Sorcerer's Stone in the last one where Harry finally faces down he who shall not be named. And I think the testament to the series, to me, is that the first Harry Potter movie I saw was Order of the Phoenix. So, if I can watch that one and be like, yeah, I think I'm going to watch the rest of these. And then found out that I love Goblet of Fire.
Dude.
Oh,
it's either the last one or Goblet of Fire is my favorite. I love Goblet of Fire. It's also my favorite book, too, though. So.
It has nothing to do with the fact that it has dragons.
What about Robert Pattinson?
I mean, he's in it, I guess, sure.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I like Goblet of Fire. I think it's primarily because that's my favorite book, but movie-wise, I remember when that was coming out. That was around the time that everyone started to talk about there's rumors that we might split this into 2 movies so we can cover all the ground. Those rumors started all the way back in Goblet of Fire. So when it eventually did happen in 7, it was like, makes sense. Harry Potter is just amazing that they could go 8 movies and the worst they ever got was okay. I don't feel like my time was wasted. Lord of the Rings, though, I feel like is just as big of an accomplishment, even if it's just 3, just because of the scale of it. For so long, these were the unfilmable movies. And for a while, I'd say that they were just because of the technology at the time. 20 years later, they still look amazing. And they still hold up from a narrative perspective, a character perspective. Lord of the Rings is nothing short of spectacular, so I'm glad we're just completely ignoring The Hobbit because, boy, that ruins a lot of things. Gandalf.
Yeah, Yeah. There's a and see like I've met people that really do like the Hobbit movies. I'm like, you know what? You're
Cool.
allowed. You're allowed that. To me, I got all the way to the third one, and they were like when Legolas is Mario hopping off of all these falling bricks, and I was like, you know what? This isn't this isn't cool anymore. This is weird.
However, there is one part in Hobbit that I'll always defend as that was brilliant. It is how the second one ended.
Dude!
When it just goes, I am death. What have we done? Cut to black. Cue Ed Sheeran's song, which is a really good song. I like Icy Fire. But you're just sitting there going, that's where they ended it? You can't do that to me.
Yeah.
All those
which
people
is
that are complaining
hilarious.
about a trilogy were just like, well, dang it, now I have to see the third one.
Yes, and that was the thing too. Is I mean I don't know about you, but I've read the Hobbit, so like when I know what's about to happen, but then they cut it right there, and I was like, you're mean. I don't like that. That was yeah, like you said. Now I have to see the third one, but I think the triumph of the Lord of the Rings trilogy is not that necessarily. I mean, the scale is incredible, costumes, CGI, everything still works. Literally, the whole cast is basically method acting. The triumph to me is that I can watch one of them and be completely okay, never feel lost, and just be right there in that zone. Like, okay, cool, what's happening? Yeah, okay, cool. We're here. Let's go. Okay. Like, it never ever. You're never confused as to where you are in the story.
No. But see, I have the exact opposite problem of I can't just watch one.
No,
It's
I mean, yes.
I watched the first 10 minutes of Fellowship. It's just like, well, guess I'm watching 8 more hours of this franchise. Happily, don't get me wrong, happily, but it's like I can't just stop at Fellowship. I need to go on because Return of the King is still one of my favorite movies of all time and still will get me amped just going, this is brotherhood, my man.
Yeah, absolutely. What else you got, man? Let's should I get the obligatory Kung Fu Panda and How to Train Your Dragon out of the way?
Yeah, let's get them out of the way now.
Because I think when you were like, hey, we should talk about this. This should be the topic for this month. I was like, for this week, I was like, oh, okay, cool. So we're just gonna talk about Kung Fu Panda and How to Train Your Dragon all day. Sounds good.
And there's more than just those.
There is, and I think, I heard this about Kung Fu Panda. It's easily the most underrated of DreamWorks.
Easily.
Trilogy.
It's my favorite, honestly.
Yes.
Even more so than How to Train Your Dragon. But I think what we are interested in factors into what we prefer.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. I mean, maybe. I mean, to your credit, Hidden World is. If we're looking at the third movie to cap off the series, Hidden World is not as strong as Kung Fu Panda's 3.
Yeah.
The Kung Fu Panda, which is weird that we're having a discussion about how good these movies are that are children's films, but I have cried like a baby in both of them, and it's not okay.
I've talked about it before on the podcast, but I felt it in my soul in Kung Fu Panda 2 when Po learns of his true heritage and he gets his chi back with the raindrops and the music like swells and you're just like, yes, you get him, Fat Jack Black. You get him. You do it, man. Because Po is just such a likable protagonist. He's so good. But then on the flip side, Hiccup is such a good protagonist too. And I think it all comes down to, I think a central theme in all the movies we're going to talk about today is nail your protagonists' characteristics and get us to like them, and half the work is done for you. Because all the movies I'm talking about today, if the main character sucks, these movies don't work.
Yeah. I've got a couple on here that I'll just bring it up. I'm going to bring it up. Let's talk about Andy Serkis's Planet of the Apes.
Yes!
Because
yes! That's on mine
if
too.
you would have told me in high school, when I first saw early 2000s Planet of the Apes, that's absolutely 2001. Awful.
Yeah, the Mark Wahlberg. That should be a 5 good things at some point.
It should.
Oh, which again, if you have not watched our return episode of Five Good
Yeah.
Things with Pacific Rim Uprising, there's no worse bad movies than forgettable bad movies. I would take a Catwoman over a Pacific Rim Uprising any day because that's at least a memorable bad. But
Yeah.
yes, Mark Wahlberg bad ape movie. Go.
Go. So, if you would have told me that one of my favorite trilogies ever was going to be Planet of the Apes, just, obviously redone, but, jeez, dude. Like, there's very few trilogies that at the end of every film, I was like, yeah, all right, cool. There could not be another one, and I'm okay with it. And then they announced the next one. I'm like, oh, let's go. I forgot. Like, let's go. Let's keep doing this. Absolutely, absolutely. And the end of that movie happens, and you go, all right, cool. I really like how that all came together. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for that. I don't need any more of this. And then they announce the next one. You're like, you know what? I was wrong. I needed this like today. I need this right now. Like, please. And then they cap it off in such a beautiful way without really taking away from the OG Planet of the Apes. Like, that's still canon. And to me, that's so incredibly like smart to tell your story in an area that hasn't been explored yet. So you get to have a little bit more freedom with your storytelling.
Yes. I didn't see him for a while just because, at least to me, I didn't grow up watching the Planet of the Apes movies. The premise may sound sacrilegious. The premise did not interest me. I was like, cool.
No, I don't blame
super smart ape people taking over the world. But I remember I had a job that I had a lot of downtime, so I would just watch movies on my laptop for a while in between the important stuff. And so I was just like, you know what? I'll finally get around to watching these Apes movies because Matt Reeves had just been announced to be directing a Batman movie. So just like, you know what? He's known for these Apes movies. Let's watch him. So I'm watching the first one, and I'm kind of getting invested in this Caesar character with Andy Serkis. I had always heard for years of his performance capture was excellent and the performance was great. So I'm watching, I'm like, I kind of like this. I still remember vividly when Draco Malfoy, because I'm just going to call him Draco Malfoy, when Draco Malfoy is about to hit him again with the taser, he grabs the taser. Get your hands off me, you damn dirty ape. And you're like, yeah, there's the line. No! And you're just like, oh no, you done goofed, Aaron. Run!
Oh.
And from that point on, it's like pedal to the metal with the franchise of just like, I am locked in. I pull the lap bar down. I'm ready for this roller coaster. I know that takes place much later in the first one, but that was like a pivot point of like, I was kind of checking my phone, kind of like in and out of the movie. When he did that noise, I like just dropped everything. I was like, I'm in. I wasn't expecting you to talk. And when you did, you speak with authority, and I bow to the throne that is Andy Serkis now. Oh my God, I'm terrified.
Dude, because this is a series where Andy really was like, yo, I know everybody knows me as the Gollum guy, but we're about to like literally change the world with motion capture effects. Like, dude, it is not only incredible storytelling, but a pivotal moment in cinematic history where literally everything changed.
And all of them feel a little different. Like, there's this escalation every single time. Like, I also appreciate that they didn't have to kill off James Franco in order to, like, draw emotion. I figured, oh, he's only in the first one. That means he's going to die in the first one. No, they space it out in a way that it's just, like, a logical progression of, yes, he's moved on to this different stage. That's why there's this new cast. And the tension is building between the humans and the apes. It's so compelling. It's so well done. The third one isn't the strongest, but all of them are at very least great movies, and some of them are truly excellent. Like, I feel bad that I doubted for so long how quality these movies are, and that's a big reason why both you and I are so excited for the Batman, is because
it's Matt Reeves.
Yeah,
let's go. Like, that's the thing too. Is like, having the guy that did easily one of the most emotionally impactful movies.
Well, he did 2 and 3. Let's not overlook the guy that did the first one. I'll always give credit to him. Yeah.
You're right. Yeah. Anyway, but like, it's just, it makes me even more excited because I think the big thing nowadays is unless you're paying attention to directors, you don't really know who's doing what works, who's being super impactful. It's not like they're, and to a lot of directors' credit, it's not like there's two or three really big name directors in the game anymore. It used to be Steven Spielberg, Martin Scorsese,
Michael
but now
Bay.
there's Michael Bay, whatever.
Well, people still knew the name though.
That is true, but it's like, and there are still names, household name directors that people know.
Yeah.
But at this, I don't think some people realize how much good directing talent there is out there right now. You want to talk about a series that surprised the crap out of me and nobody ever thought would work?
Which one?
Let's talk about one that's based on a ride. So, Pirates of the Caribbean 1, 2, and 3 is fantastic.
I was wondering. I won't, but I also won't judge you for having it.
Yes, So, the the caveat of this discussion is a series with no bad movies. Even the worst Pirates of the Caribbean movie is still pretty enjoyable.
Which I'm curious, what would you put as the worst?
Probably 4.
Ooh, really? I actually like 4 a lot. I would probably put 3.
Maybe 3.
3 is way too long.
What was it? 5? Is it 5?
I have not seen 5. 5 is the only one I have not seen. I kind of got burnt out.
One, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Dude, 5 will surprise you. It is got a weird amount of heart that I was not expecting, especially from Jack Sparrow. But anyway, regardless of that, even 3, if you think 3 is not good, it's still there's still some really cool stuff happening. You're here for the characters. And to me, Davy Jones was a villain that I never thought I'd be able to sit there and go, yeah, no, I'm legitimately terrified of Davy Jones because and even when he ends up being just a heartbroken sailor, it's still his anger is so terrifying, and that CGI still holds up. Get out of here.
Yeah. I don't mind them. I don't bag on them nearly to the extent of other people. For some reason, the critics really only seem to like the first one. I can at least have fun with the first 4. I never saw the 5th one to know. I think it's on Disney Plus. I should watch that.
It's fun.
But I actually don't mind the 4th one with the mermaids. I know a lot of people bagged on the 4th one because they're just trying to copy Orlando Bloom and Keira Knightley's characters. They're completely different characters. Brenton Thwaites isn't trying to be Orlando Bloom here. And maybe I'm sympathetic because I like me some Brenton Thwaites, and not just because he's Nightwing, but also Oculus. All hail the Oculus. We haven't talked about that in a while on the podcast here. I don't mind Pirates. I don't have it on my list, but also I'm not surprised that it would be on somebody's list somewhere. I was talking to some friends about this to kind of get their thoughts, and one of them suggested Pirates. I'm like, okay, that's fair. Here's one that I feel pretty confident that it's not going to be on your list, and in all my research, no one put this on their list either, which makes me a little sad, considering it does one of the really impossible tasks of being a comedy franchise that the 3rd installment came almost 25 plus years after the last outing, even though it came out recently, in the Bill and Ted trilogy.
Okay.
I don't think we give the Bill and Ted trilogy enough credit. I know some people don't like the middle one. I really, really like Bogus Journey a lot because it does not try to copy the original of let's go back in time and get some historical figures. They go to the future. They go to hell. They go to all these weird places, and it's so trippy and bizarre. They meet Station, who is great. Should have come back for the 3rd one. But even the 3rd one, comedy sequels that take place years after the original tend to suck. Anchorman 2 wasn't awful, but not nearly as good. It tarnishes the legacy. So I was worried when Bill and Ted 3 was stuck in production hell for years, and I finally see Bill and Ted Face the Music, and it's a completely worthy successor of these are the characters you know and love, but they're adults now, and they still have not written the song to save the universe, so they're washouts. It's a nice natural progression of the character, and having the same creative team for all 3, they're different directors, but the characters of Bill and Ted were creations of a comedian group, and so they've been very possessive of the characters, and having their centralized voices on all three movies helps it be unified. And also, they're such, I don't want to say innocent, but wholesome movies. They're just, Bill and Ted are just lovable idiots that are so dumb they're smart. Like, I don't know how, but Bill and Ted to me still has the best time travel physics ever of like, hey man, we're stuck in this jail cell. But what if we go into the future and then steal the keys from my dad and drop them back here in the past? Where would we put them? Right there. Oh, look, the keys. We just got to remember that later when we get the time machine, we got to go back here and drop them off for our future selves now. I'm going, that's stupid. But it actually makes a lot of sense. Like, the time travel logic makes sense. The supporting characters with, like, death in the second and third one are great. I don't think we give enough love to the Bill and Ted franchise, considering all three of them are really, really good. And one of them came out years later, but lost none of its mojo in the process.
Okay. It's been a really, really long time since I've seen the first one, and I have not seen 2 and 3. So
the entire trilogy is in the Vudu in 4K.
That's a weird drop you got right there, buddy. Okay. Oh, that's so super convenient.
I actually might watch Bill and Ted 3 this weekend because I've got travel plans.
Nice. Good for you. I mean, you could watch Conjuring, but anyway.
I might have some plans for that one, so that's why. I also don't want to watch it on a plane because
that's, you know what, that's fair.
Bill and Ted is more of a plane movie than Conjuring is.
Yes, and I did, of the things I watched this last week, the new Conjuring movie. Just a little side note here: the new Conjuring movie is one that I watched, and I actually kind of enjoyed it, and I don't know if it's because I haven't seen a scary movie in a long time, or
that might factor into it.
Yeah, or if it's actually decent. But they try to do some different things with this one, and to me, I think it works. But you and I can talk about it when you see it. But,
yeah.
Let's talk about movies that. Let's talk about a series that not everybody likes every single entry, but they're all decent. I bring to you.
Don't say The Conjuring.
I'm going to ignore the most recent 2, although the fifth one isn't too bad. The OG Bourne trilogy, because
I thought you were going to say Ip Man.
I personally haven't seen 3 and 4, so I don't know.
I thought Ip Man might be enough up your alley, but I'm glad you bring up Bourne, because that was one of the first names I asked this to my parents, and that was actually the first thing that they said was Bourne, except they also, just like you, said, well, except for that Jeremy Renner one. I'm going, poor Jeremy Renner can't catch a break.
I feel bad. Like, I haven't seen it in so long. I'm actually tempted to go back and rewatch. Because maybe it was just one of those scenarios where it was like, I'm here for Jason Bourne. Who's this Jeremy Renner guy? I don't want him. Give me Matt Damon.
Isn't Oscar Isaac also in that movie?
I don't remember. I don't remember anything about that movie. Other than Jeremy Renner's character is literally just like, drugs, give me the drugs. I need drugs, give me the drugs. Because
Requiem for a Bourne?
Because their thing is that the super soldiers were all done on drugs and not on psychological training. Anyway,
I don't think I like that retcon.
Yeah, and that was the other thing is they tried to. Later versions of the soldiers were done with drugs as opposed to psychological training because
it's still a dumb retcon by the sounds of it.
But because of all the issues with the brain stuff. Anyway, I almost want to go back and rewatch, but the 5th one, just titled Bourne, is actually pretty good. It's not like amazing, but it's one of those like, yeah, that was a Bourne movie. Okay, yeah, okay, sure.
That's a Bourne movie. Okay.
Yeah, it's not bad. It wasn't exactly like to the tier of the original 3, but it happened. But the original 3 are a masterclass in
how not to film action scenes.
I was going to say early 2000s action, but it's also like, and see, the thing is,
it's like the camera was duct taped to a shake weight.
Yeah, probably. The weird thing is, despite those action scenes, I don't know about you, how you feel about the Bourne series, but for
I
me,
love the
I was
trilogy.
I was like, I can hardly follow what's happening, but I'm here for it. All right, it was just enough to know, like, okay, who's winning? He's winning. Okay, cool.
Plus, Carl Urban was in at least one of those, and that's always a win. I think he's in like the first or the
Absolutely.
second one.
It's I don't.
I think he's the second one because I think the first one was Clive Owen. They all
Yes,
kind of blend together.
they do. It's the movie that started the trope of he's in the building the whole time. How did that happen? Like
Well,
it does it so well that you're like, ooh, got him.
when a stranger calls type of.
Yeah, it's great.
So you bring up an action franchise from the early 2000s. I bring up an action franchise from today, John Wick, which is like the antithesis of Jason Bourne. Of Jason Bourne's got shaky camera. John Wick's just like, wait, you can take the camera off the tripod? Because John Wick is like the most still, static camera movements, and I love it because it's clear, concise action. You're going, oh, that's not a stunt double. That's Keanu that just got punched in the face, but also has clearly thoroughly trained in firearms because every John Wick movie, doesn't matter how many they make, you'll always see those videos circulating online of, look at Keanu at the gun range and look how proficient he is. And that always kind of scares me how good he is. Like, we always give credit to Tom Cruise did this for his movie. And we're not going to acknowledge that Keanu Reeves basically for a movie became as dangerous as a licensed killer slash assassin for these movies because I'm terrified of Keanu now.
I see, and I'm on the other hand of that. I'm terrified of Halle Berry because she did
Oh,
the
yeah.
exact same thing, except plus all the dog training as well. So now I'm like, bro, I don't
That's what I
know
hope
if
for Donnie Yen in this new
Yes.
one. Is
Oh, stop!
for
No,
him to
no,
be like Halle
no!
Berry.
I don't need. Oh no! I don't need to be that terrified of Donnie Yen. Oh no! Okay.
Donnie Yen
Anyway.
has guard dogs.
Ooh. Just like imagine Donnie Yen doing his Wing Chun stuff with a gun in one hand and a knife in the other. Like,
Or
come
if
on!
if Donnie Yen does gun fu,
Stop! Don't
just
ever bring up Kung Fu.
like
Equilibrium is a great movie.
I was
but
about to
you
say,
should
if
never
Donnie Yen
talk
does
about
some
it.
equilibrium stuff, just
Stop! No,
but
no,
getting back
no.
to John Wick trilogy proper, I appreciate that there's the lore in John Wick is so good of the Continental and the rules that are established. And I swear to God, if they do anything to the concierge in these movies, I will kill everyone because the concierge needs to be protected. He's the best character in the entire franchise, even more so than John Wick's dog. I went there. The concierge is perfect. But like the first one started off as this just like revenge flick of you killed the cutest dog in the world after my wife died. And then the second one is an escalation of that. And the third one's a massive escalation of that. And the fourth one is I'm sure going to be an even bigger escalation of that to the point you're just looking in the rear view going, how did we get there? How did we start there? And now we're all the way here. Like, we've escalated over the span of what feels like 3 weeks. Basically,
It is
John
3
Wick.
weeks.
John Wick has just had a bad 3 weeks, basically.
Basically. And see, that's the thing is I'm kind of looking for them to do in the fourth one is, and it's just the reason I didn't put this on this list is because the series isn't done yet.
Fair.
But what I'm looking for them to do in the fourth one is actually maybe fast forward like a month or something like that because John needs to recover.
I was just going to say, we need some recovery time for John.
Yeah, like he's got to get some band-aids on those cuts, buddy.
Yeah, let's see. In the last movie alone, lost a finger, got shot off a building. I feel like he got shot like in the rib cage and probably broke some stuff. He got banged up in the third one.
Yeah, and like the first three, I really do. It's either over 1 week or 3. Like it's all like really close to each other, which is incredible considering when you take into account how much traveling they do in the movies.
Yeah, that's some Dark Knight Rises travel logic there.
Oh,
Dark Knight trilogy.
Stop! Nope. You already know this isn't on my list. No,
It's not
sir.
on my list because I don't want to fight Josh this week.
Oh,
Also, holy burnt arms there, Josh.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Farmers tan like nobody's business.
It's really bad. It's really bad.
I got 3 more. How many more you got, burnt
3
boy?
more, my friend.
We might have the same 3. I'm not sure.
I think we have at least 2 of the same 3.
Let's go with one that I think we might have together. A franchise that you and I didn't care about before it got rebooted, but after it got rebooted, all 3 of these I thought were just excellent. And that's the JJ Star Trek movies.
Okay, sure.
Like,
you're allowed it. Yeah.
I'm not counting it with Star Trek because, as diehard Star Trek fans, I'm sure will point out, this is in a different universe because JJ altered the timeline. Fine, means we don't have to worry about annoying backstory and half the movies being garbage. More than half the movies being garbage and nonsensical. I know some people had issues with Into Darkness. That's actually my favorite one.
Absolutely.
I love all 3 of them. Star Trek, to me, the 09 one, is still the prime example of this is how you reboot a franchise for a modern age and bring in a more casual audience. Because Star Trek, people are aware of it, but I don't think the Trekkie community is your average person. Like, that sounds weird, but, like, the general population doesn't follow Star Trek still to this day. Like, diehard Trek fans do and will follow everything Trek related, but like the general population, not so much. And that's what the new Star Trek movies were trying to do, and I think they did it pretty well, minus the fact that they lost money with each passing one. But all 3 of them were really, really good, even when JJ handed over the directorial reins to I think it was Justin Lin for Star Trek Beyond, so JJ could go off and do Star Wars. I liked all 3 of them, even though Star Trek Beyond felt different than the 2 JJ ones. I still had a lot of fun with that, and I remember jokingly saying that because Star Trek Beyond came out the same year as Rogue One, at least one space movie has a crawl in it, because the villain in Star Trek was Crawl, but all 3 of them were great, and I had so much fun with all 3 of them that they really shouldn't have worked as well as they did, but they're great, and I still watch them to this day.
If you would have told me that when I saw the final movie of the trilogy, Star Trek trilogy, that my favorite thing was when they played Beastie Boys, I would have laughed at you.
It's a nice callback.
I can't hear Sabotage by the Beastie Boys without thinking about that scene. And it makes me smile every single time. And it shouldn't, but here we are.
If you ever do come down to visit and we go to Universal, there's a ride there that you can pick the music that you listen to on the ride, and 9 times out of 10, I'll listen to Beastie Boys Sabotage just because it fits too well. I'm just like, this song works for every occasion. Thank you, Star Trek. But also, can we talk about, for a quick second before we move on, minus Zachary Quinto, how perfectly cast those movies were? Carl Urban crushes it as Bones. I love his Bones so much. And I love that Chris Pine doesn't try to be Shatner. He's Kirk. No. I appreciate that he's just Kirk. He doesn't try to be Shatner. He actually tries to act. But you also have Zoe Saldana being a great... I almost said Gamora. Uhura. Too many like really close sounding names together.
Yeah.
Or Simon Pegg being Scotty is brilliant casting.
It's Simon Pegg. It's just also I'm gonna call you out on this. So you really like Carl Urban's Bones, huh? Okay.
That's all he's got left is his bones.
No, like so well cast.
I dread his bones.
What is the Russian kid.
Oh, Chekhov.
Yes.
Anton Yelchin.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
God.
Yelchin, you are fantastic.
I am actually low-key, whenever I think of Yelchin, I'm low-key upset that he's gone. Because he was starting to get, like, we knew him, but he was starting to get real hot as an actor. And you
loved him in, what was it, Fright Night? The Fright Night remake?
Yeah, I love him in Fright Night.
And I still think he was absolutely perfect in Terminator Salvation. The movie's not great, but I still enjoy it, and his Kyle Reese is great.
He was going to be such a great actor. I mean, he already was an incredible actor. So I just, Man, it sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing. You bring up another actor in the Star Trek films, and I'm gonna segue us
Oh
to
God, you're gonna say Princess Diaries.
yeah, no,
There's only two of those, so it can't be on here.
and they're both fantastic. Anyway, don't you make that face at me. They're both good. Leave me alone. Okay?
The first one. The second one has not
anyway,
aged as well as you remember.
Anyway. So you brought up Simon Pegg. So
Oh, you're putting the Cornetto
time.
trilogy.
It is about time.
No, the Cornetto trilogy is not a franchise. Dang it! I will fight you on this. I almost put it on here, but it should not count. They're three completely separate movies. Just because the actors are the same and the director's the same doesn't mean they're connected. John Carpenter did Halloween, The Fog, and Christine. Doesn't mean they take place in the same universe.
It's an anthology series.
No, no, not even sort of. Just because they choose to sell them in a box set doesn't mean they're connected.
Fine, whatever. I understand.
Although I will give you credit, I still hate Scott Pilgrim, but to me, Edgar Wright, not that I am aware of at least, has made a bad movie yet. Like, Edgar Wright, almost all of them, I think, are enjoyable. I like Baby Driver a lot. I think I like Shaun of the Dead more than Hot Fuzz. I need to go back and rewatch Hot Fuzz. I have not seen The World's End yet. I've heard that one's just kind of okay compared to the rest, but I don't think Edgar Wright really misses. But yeah, Cornetto trilogy is not it's not a trilogy.
Okay,
they just sell it in a box set to sell more copies.
And to Scott Pilgrim's credit, I don't think the issue with that film is Edgar Wright's.
No, it's the source material of Scott being a dick.
Yes, absolutely. Fine. You know what? Fine. I will ixnay the Three Flavors Cornetto, and I will give you Toy Story.
Fine. I knew we were getting there eventually. If you didn't say it, I was.
Well, I'll do Toy Story then.
Is that your last one?
No, I have one more.
Oh, cool. We might have the same last one then.
No, we don't.
You say your bit about Toy Story because I will rant on this for a while.
Why? So I think the big question here, I think you and I have answered it on the pod before, is the fourth necessary?
Yes.
Even after they tie it up in a nice little bow in 3.
Here's why. Here's why I say it. Because the original Toy Story trilogy is about Woody and Buzz. Toy Story 3 gives the original toys the closure with Andy. Toy Story 4 gives Woody the closure to move on in the next stage of life from the rest of the toys. If Woody is the main character for the original Toy Story, he needs to be able to move on. That's fair. Toy Story 3 is a perfect trilogy, but Toy Story 4 I always interpreted as an epilogue, so to speak. It's like in Harry Potter, the 11 years later type thing. It's the Captain America finally ending up with Peggy situation of Woody can finally retire from his quote-unquote job that he's had of being loyal to Andy or to Bonnie, who is the worst toy owner ever. Let's just get rid of this toy that I was told to love and cherish. Let's just get rid of it after 2 months. I do still think Toy Story 4 is, I wouldn't say necessary, but it is helpful in properly sending off the character of Woody. Toy Story 3 closed the door on Andy. Toy Story 4 closed the door on Woody, so to speak. That being said, it's still to me the weakest of the 4, but a 97 out of 100 I think is what it's on Rotten Tomatoes. A 97 is still, if that's your weakest, you're doing something right. If you had to, because I'm making you, how would you rank the 4 Toy Story movies from worst to best? Quote unquote worst.
3, 1, 2, 4.
That's best to worst, I think.
Oh, did you say worst to best?
So you're saying 3 is the best. 3, yes. Okay. I'm close. I would just swap 1 and 3. I would go
That's
1,
fair.
3, 2, 4, just because of how personal, and I've said it time and time again, how personal the first Toy Story is to me. But the third one is, I'll admit the third one probably is a better movie, but the first one is so close to my chest that I can't really detach it from my way of thinking on it. But even if the fourth one is your quote-unquote worst movie in the franchise, it's still leaps and bounds better than most other Pixar movies. And Pixar used to not make trash. They've gotten away from that. Cars 2 and 3. Toy Story, it's just amazing
Cars
to me.
1? What are you talking about? Hold on.
Yeah, okay. I'm
hold
with
on.
you on that. I know
Chill. The problem with Cars is that it
exists.
opens up a lot of weird questions for adults.
Yeah.
That's what... It's just a lot of weird, especially when you introduce children.
I won't completely put the first one on there because I know some people that do enjoy the first Cars. I am not one of them. It's too merchandisey for me, as I am a Toy Story fan, and they, in no way, shape, or form, merchandise the crap out of Toy Story or turn that into a whole area in the Disney parks. But it's amazing to me that they're really, even when you have Toy Story 4, which some people accuse of being unnecessary because 3 wrapped it up so well, even when you have a 4, there is no real quality drop-off. Mm-hmm. Like, there's no big quality difference, for me at least, between 1 and 4. I'll rank them a certain way, but it's not like this one's all the way up here and this one's all the way down here, like the Moneyball analogy of there are rich teams, then there's poor teams, then there's 50 feet of crap, and then there's us. There is not that divide. There's like a little divide, obviously, but it's not a huge gap. All 4 of them are excellent.
And here's the thing, too, is I think in the way that 1 showed that what you could do with computer-generated animation, the 4, 20 years later, shows what's possible with computer-generated animation. Because there's times in 4 where I could swear I'm watching a live-action movie.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
looks
holy
so good.
Cow.
Anything with Bo Peep, like the ceramic on her.
Oh, well, like there's certain
rain.
Like there's scenes. The scene where, because like me knowing, like I understand the process of like animation and why they do certain things, blah blah blah. But like little things like Bo Peep and Woody climbing up the pole to the top of the carousel, but the carousel is also moving around them, and so they have to factor all the shadows in of the carousel itself and the shadows of them climbing up the pole. It's just like there's the animation is so complex and so well done that it is hard to ignore it as even like just an okay movie. Like it's so good.
Mm-hmm. And all of them are just fantastic.
Absolutely.
I'll cut it off there, or else I will talk about Toy Story all day.
Yeah, oh, dude, I could. Yeah, same.
What is your final franchise or set of movies?
Honestly, I feel like you don't. It's not what you think it is, but when I say it, you won't be surprised.
Are you gonna say Shrek?
No, I'm gonna say Mad Max.
Okay, that's fair.
Even though Into the Thunderdome is really weird, it's still enjoyable.
Is that the one with Tina Turner?
Yes, it is.
I think that's all anybody remembers about Thunderdome. Is that absolutely. The one with Tina Turner? Yes.
Yes.
Now, how would you rank them before you get into it?
Oh, don't do this to me. From best to worst.
Yeah.
Fury Road, Mad Max 1, Road Warrior, then Into the Thunderdome.
Okay.
I think too, you gotta appreciate like where this series came from. Like none of the movies are quote unquote bad, and none of them, maybe Thunderdome is okay, but it's still enjoyable. I mean, it's Mel Gibson in his prime, although he's problematic now, but his prime, he's a great actor. But like, what other franchise can say that their latest entry into their series is not only many, many, many years later, but also got what, 6 Oscars?
Yeah, wasn't it nominated for Best Picture even?
Yeah, it's insane. Fury Road is so good, and I watch it at least once every 3 or 4 months because it's so good. I'm thinking about. I actually want one of those the tattoos that they do.
Mm.
I kind of I it's like of the tattoos I want, it's like the lamest, but like it's so cool. Like you can't. Anyway, um, no, yeah, Mad Max is great. We were talking about series with no bad movies, and considering the first one was made like with a budget of like $20, um, it's holds up. It's cool. It does gets the job done.
Also,
Let's go.
I always hone in on visuals in movies, and Mad
Mm-hmm.
Max Fury Road I think has some of the most jaw-dropping visuals, whether it's that tornado that they just drive straight into, or just the overall
Mm-hmm.
aesthetic of like modernizing the Mad Max look of like it's still in the middle of nowhere, but the overly saturated oranges and yellows just almost give it like this otherworldly vibe. Like it's still grounded, but not. It kind of feels more like this in this fantasy world of like
Mm-hmm.
hyper reality. Maybe is that the word? I don't know if that's the correct terminology, but like it's our world, but not. And
Yeah,
I
like
love
I
that.
mean, if a guy playing a flamethrower guitar to lead the procession into battle isn't hyper reality, I don't know what is.
I know some people are just like, why is he there? Because
Does it's so cool.
it's Mad Max. There doesn't need to be rules.
Like, I mean, in essence, too, though, like the war drums is the thing, and they kind of
Hmm.
okay. You better stop. Like, say your last one because I will talk about Fury Road endlessly.
So I think Josh and I might disagree on this one. I already know we're going to disagree on this one. I think if this trilogy was not nestled into a larger franchise, I think people would talk about this more in the discussion of best trilogies of all time. Because I'm not talking about the franchise as a whole, but I'm looking specifically at a small subset, and that's the Captain America trilogy.
Okay, okay, okay.
The MCU as a whole, I think for the most part is pretty good, but there, as we've talked about in the past, there's been some misfires. Captain America don't miss.
No.
Whether it's Captain America the First Avenger, which is probably the weakest, even that's probably a 7 out of 10. That's a pretty competently made origin story. Winter Soldier, which is still to this day, I think, the best MCU movie. Like, holy crap, where did that come from? And the one that Josh and I are going to disagree with, which is Civil War. Narratively speaking, Josh and I have our disagreements, but you cannot disagree that it's a competently made film.
Yes.
It's not like some other ones that, like, you may disagree with the narrative, but you can follow the narrative, unlike Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Like, you can follow it, you disagree with it, but it's competently made. Captain America, I think, has the strongest outing in the entire MCU, and every time we see him, even if it's in Avengers or with our new Captain America, they're all good, but I'm specifically honing in on the Captain America trilogy, which all of them are good, and I think if you could take those out, rip them right out of the MCU, and just make them their own separate trilogy, and they're still excellent movies. They probably would be the blueprint for how I would make a really good Superman trilogy, because they're not too dissimilar of characters. But I think if they get lost in the fold of, we love all the MCU, but specifically the Captain America trilogy, those are so good. And they shouldn't on paper, because for so many years people are just like, Captain America is just kind of a cheesy character. He's just a walking American flag. I thought that for a while until Winter Soldier, but I'm like, they do it so well, and there really was no quality drop off, despite what Josh seems to think about Civil War.
Okay. I will give you this because I was allowed to get away with Mad Max. Civil War is not a bad movie.
It's just your least favorite MCU movie.
And that's saying something because Dark World exists. Yeah, I'll give it to you, dude. I'll give it to you. Because at least like Civil War is rewatchable. And it's got some cool stuff, and I can follow the
Spooderman.
It's at the very least I can enjoy certain aspects of it. Whereas if you wanted to be like Iron Man as a trilogy, the third one is downright close to unwatchable for me.
The second one.
The third one?
The second one with my bird.
No,
Okay, we can at least agree the only Iron Man we like is the first one.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Or like Thor. We think the first Thor's underrated, actually. And then the Dark World happens. But then Ragnarok happens. It's a uneven trilogy. Captain America, it's still pretty good. Also, in terms of character work, I don't think there's, other than maybe our first introduction to Spider-Man when he's talking to Tony in his bedroom, I don't think there's a single scene that perfectly personifies a given character than in the first Captain America movie when Tommy Lee Jones throws a fake dummy grenade and everyone scatters and Steve jumps on it. You're like, that immediately boils down the characteristics of this character and why we should care. And that's before he even becomes anything special. Like, from the get-go, the filmmakers knew what made Captain America special and only exemplified that further with each passing movie, whether it was, I'm a black and white moral character in this gray world that I'm living in Winter Soldier, which is such a beautiful concept, or Civil War, with its all over the place in terms of what is Steve's issue. It was just so well done for his entire arc, and it wrapped up so well. MCU's great, but specifically the Captain America movies are something special, I think.
Yeah, I'd agree. As much as I don't like Civil War, yeah, that's fine, sure. I think I'm gonna give a special shout out to Star Wars, because guys,
no matter what, we can watch them.
They're not bad, no matter how you feel about the new ones or the prequels. They're not bad. They're watchable. They're cool. They're fun. The characters are, for the most part, enjoyable.
It's like poetry. It rhymes.
Anyway, so take us home. I don't want to talk to this guy anymore.
Well, what do you guys think? What are some franchises that you think there have not been any bad incarnations? Let us know in the comments below. We always like hearing from you guys. And if you like what you hear and you want to hear more, subscribe to us on whatever audio platform you're listening to us on, whether it's iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or YouTube. And if you haven't already, subscribe to us on YouTube at Uncharted Media. And as always, stay sharp, movie guys and gals.